Welcome to the Rubio Method. Venture into the unfiltered world of Chris Rubio. The Rubio Method delivers an unapologetically edgy take on the often overlooked world of men's mental health. Rubio, a master communicator, wields a potent knack for no BS enlightenment. Step into this no-nonsense arena, where men are challenged to evolve and confront the man staring back at them from the mirror.
Focus up. I'm talking to you, 34. Yes, you can take a quick break from laying down all that, whatever that tile linoleum is on your floor, to watch episode 79 of the Rubio Method, but just for a little bit, about an hour. Welcome. My name is Chris Rubio of the Rubio Method. I'm going to try to say his name, but I don't want to because I just embarrass myself. He says, let's go. Tripping Through Transformation, a fantastic podcast. He does a great job. He does a lot of graphics too. If you're looking for someone to help you out with that stuff, because I've had him help me and he does a great job. My name is Chris Rubio. You can email rubio@therubiomethod.com anytime. Right now, we're live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, X, all that good stuff. iTunes and Spotify will be up within 24 hours. We've got a phenomenal show for you. Her name is Chastity. Says, let's go. Oop. I'm hoping that P is a spelling thing, or maybe it's an Alabama thing. Could be humidity. I don't know. Nasty says, yay, Rubio. What's going on? And post Happy Thanksgiving. I'm assuming you guys are coming down off your food comas and all that good stuff. To the Canadians, all my good friends, even though they have terrible food. What are we going to talk about today? We've got a wild show. We're going to start with, and I hate to admit it, I'm going to show you a chart where El Trumpo is a racist. You're not going to believe what he wants to do for America. I was shocked when I saw it. So it is what it is. Then I'm going to bring on Nick Umble, and we're going to talk about what it means to be a man. Okay, Nick Umble is a former Green Beret. He is the epitome of a man, okay, in my mind. We're going to talk to him a little bit. Then we're going to move on to Dave Bradley. And Umble may stick around for this conversation as well, because Dave Bradley, I call him the Wisdom Rabbit. He's out of Ohio. He's a former Manchester United soccer player, football, all that thing. Phenomenal human being. He's the Wisdom Rabbit to me because he always just drops little pellets of wisdom all over the place, where he had a big post on LinkedIn about toxic masculinity. And I was like, ooh, we're going to talk about that one. So we're going to dive into that one. And I think Umble might want to stick around for that one. We're going to talk just a little bit about Kamala going on Brett Baer for Fox News yesterday, had that interview. It went exactly as I expected it. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. And then we're going to bring on Tim Carney of Sports Talk with Dad, another phenomenal podcast that he does with his son. And we're going to talk about, is Major League boring, or is it just is it too much for the commoners? And I'll explain what all that means in a little bit. On that note, Jenna, let's go straight to everything happens for a reason. All right, so I'm going through social media, as I always do, and I'm checking everything on the left and the middle and the right, and just some funny stuff and memes and GIFs and all that, GIFs, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going through there, and I see this thing that El Trumpo is putting out. He puts it out on the Republican red letterhead, blah, blah, blah. It's the, Trump Vance ticket. This is what they're going to go for. And I was absolutely shocked. So I looked at it and I was like, you know what? It's something I normally, obviously I'm a little biased with what I'm thinking and what I'm saying. I always come up with facts, even though it bothers my mom a lot. But it's one of those things that I wanted to share with you, how Trump is racist. So Jenna, do you have the Trump is racist red sheet that we could post? And let's just talk about it. So this is the Trump Vance policy. Donald Trump will create an opportunity agenda for white men. I'm just reading off this if you're listening on iTunes and Spotify. Okay, the first bullet, provide 1 million loans that are fully forgivable for up to $20,000. Okay, so let's just stop here. Let's not even get through it. Provide $1 million loans that are fully forgivable, up to $20,000. Okay, so if it's fully forgivable, it's not a loan. You're just borrowing money and you don't have to pay it back. So the government is giving you money. Okay, but where are they getting that money? Now, here's where it gets interesting. I'm going to provide 1 million loans that are fully forgivable, so you don't have to pay it back, up to $20,000, sounds nice, for white entrepreneurs and others to start a business. Okay, so you got to be a white entrepreneur and others, like they don't really classify what others are, just start a business. So this is kind of weird by El Trumpo and Vance that they're doing $20,000 just for white entrepreneurs. I mean, to me, that seems that's racist right off the bat. So let's move on to number 2, because this has got to go better here. Support education, training, and mentorship programs that lead to good paying jobs for white men. Okay, that's 100% racist, right? Including pathways to become teachers. Okay, so wouldn't that be just high school and then you get your teacher credential? I don't understand. So let me read this again. Support education, training, and mentorship programs that lead to good paying jobs. So who classifies what a good paying job is? Does that mean 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, 60,000? Because 40,000 where I live is going to go a lot farther than I would say where Nick Umble lives in Virginia. Well, I think he lives kind of rural, so maybe it doesn't. Lead to good paying jobs for white men, including pathways to become teachers. Okay, so that's pretty damn racist. The next one it says, protect cryptocurrency investments so white men who make them know their money is safe. What? Protect cryptocurrency investments. Okay, so you're kind of gambling because no one really knows what the crypto stuff is. I've had people try to explain it to me, and do I own some crypto? Yes, I do. Just a small bit just because I wanted to be in on it. Do I understand what's happening in it? Absolutely not. When the person explained it to me, and they knew exactly what they were talking about, it literally hurt my head. It was one of those things like someone explaining long division while you're upside down, underwater, while trying to, teach a bat how to tie shoes or something. It was so confusing to me. But even as they tried to explain it more and more and more, it was like, okay, trying to explain to me the smell of the color red. Like, it doesn't make sense. But I know it's out there. But you want to protect cryptocurrency investments so white men who make them know their money is safe. Okay, so that's 100% racist. Jenna, am I wrong on this one? Or because make them know their money is safe. Okay, so why can't everyone know their money is safe? Okay. The 4th bullet, launch a national health initiative focused on the illnesses that disproportionately impact white men. Launch a national health initiative focused on the illnesses that disproportionately impact white men. I don't know what that would be. I don't know that white men have certain illnesses over brown men, over black men, over Asian men, over green men. I don't know, but I think I don't know. Launch a national health initiative. I don't even know what that means. So everyone's going to do more jumping jacks focused on the illnesses that disproportionately impact white men. So I guess we got to Google white men illnesses, and then we kind of go from there and say, okay, they have a lot of hangnails, so we've got to stop getting hangnails. Well, hangnails, those are brutal. Jenna, is there any way you could look up why you get hangnails? Because I always have that fear that I'm going to end up pulling a hangnail and it's going to end up at my chin, and that's just a nightmare. And then the last bullet says, legalize recreational marijuana and create opportunities for white Americans to succeed in this new industry. Legalize recreational marijuana and create opportunities for white Americans to succeed in this new industry. So legalizing recreational marijuana, okay, I think like more than half the states do that already. So what you got to do, what you got to do. And then, but you're going to create opportunities. I'm assuming that means jobs for white Americans to succeed in this new industry. So I guess there's a new industry of the devil's lettuce, and you're going to formulate it and you're going to make it, but you're going to have to do, I don't know what you're talking about. Waiting for the plot twist, Rubio. Are you going to say this is what Kamala is doing for minorities? No, I would never do that. This is what El Trumpo did, Guy. So you've got to be, that would be extremely racist if someone did that. So just to recap, provide 1 million loans that are fully forgivable so you don't have to pay them back for white entrepreneurs, education training for white men, including pathways to become teachers, cryptocurrency for white men, launch a national health, and so you find out what illnesses white dudes have, and legalize marijuana and get jobs for white Americans. This is extremely racist. I mean, anyone can look at this. Helen Keller can see this and go, oh my God, this is so racist. Here's the funny part. Guy got me. This is actually, I just reversed the entire thing. Jenna, can you pull up the blue sheet for me now? This is actually what Kamala put out, Harris-Walz policy. Kamala Harris will create an opportunity agenda for black men. So all I did was I made the sheet red, and then whenever she wrote black, I wrote white. Now, when you read it as white, isn't it that the most racist thing you've ever seen? I mean, there's no doubt about it. You would look and say, well, why do only white entrepreneurs get a $20,000 loan that they don't have to pay back? Why can only white men get pathways to become teachers? How come cryptocurrency only affects white men And why do they need to have their money protected? What about the disproportional health issues for the white man? And then what about with the devil's lettuce? We got to have white men succeed in that and have jobs with them. When you say it with white men, it's extremely racist. But then if you look at this, and this is a real thing. I did not create this. I did not create this. This is Kamala Harris will create an opportunity agenda for black men. So if you're saying, Rubio, you're racist for showing it, I'm literally just reading it. Okay, and I'm sure I will get called racist for this, and I'm darker than the person probably that's going to be calling me racist, which is great. But it's one of those things that if it's racist towards one group, how is it not racist towards the other group? I don't understand. Am I, like I said, if I had hair, I'd pull it out. So Guy saw it happening. I don't understand how you can read this and look at it and say, wow, this is great. I love this. All this help for black entrepreneurs. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't help out black entrepreneurs. I'm saying help out all entrepreneurs, man. If you're going to do it by race, then you're racist. You're literally the definition of racist. And I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me how you can't look at this and go, oh, that sounds good. I mean, because even if you were the blackest of black dudes, you'd be like, yeah, this is kind of racist. I mean, if you said one thing to me, if you said, we're doing it for all big, brown, dark, bald guys, I'd be like, yeah, that's not very fair because Dave Bradley's not dark. He's not brown. I don't think he's bald. And neither is Umble. So they just lose? That makes no sense at all. So everything happens for a reason? Yeah. The reason is she's trying to pander to the black voter. There's literally no doubt about it. There's no way you can look at this and say, oh, no, this sounds right. She's losing. She's hemorrhaging black male voters. It's very, very clear. Where they're just not voting for her. They're just looking and saying, nah, man, this is not our thing. We want El Trumpo back. And she's just pandering to them saying, but we're going to do this for you. We're going to be if you're an entrepreneur, you get $20,000 loan. Fully forgivable. So you don't even have to pay it. You like weed? Okay, we're going to make it legal and we're going to get you jobs. Oh, you want to be a teacher? If you're a black man, we'll get you a teacher. So this is pandering. This is racist. This is kind of disgusting in my book. I just don't understand how anyone could look at this and say, yeah, it's a good idea. And if you think it's a good idea, that's fantastic. You can comment right now on Facebook, X, LinkedIn, YouTube, whatever you want. Like, share, subscribe. I want someone to disagree with me on this one because maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way. Maybe I'm looking at it from the right and I need to see it from the left, or I'm looking at it from the left and I need to see it from the middle. Because no matter which way I read that, I see racism and I see pandering. And maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'll tell you what I'm not wrong on, though, Jenna. We're going to move on. I don't even want to go to commercial. I'm so fired up. All right. There are winners and losers in life. What does it mean to be a man? I know what I think it means to be a man. I know in the past, I'd say 7 years, it's been very controversial of what is a man, what is a woman. You're a dude. All of a sudden, you can become a chick. If you're a chick, all of a sudden, you become a dude. And it's just not a thing that I'm into. I just think it's fictitious, and if you want to go to that angle, that's great. But like I've said before, if you have an imaginary friend, doesn't mean that I have to talk to that imaginary friend. You can have a full conversation with Johnny, your imaginary friend, but doesn't mean that I have to have a conversation with Johnny, your imaginary friend, because I can't see Johnny, your imaginary friend. So I wanted to bring on someone who, to me, I'll make him blush a little bit. This dude is the epitome of a man. Jenna, can we bring on Nick Umble?
What's up, buddy?
Go Cats. What's going on, Nick Umble? So Nick Umble, I've given you a little bit of premise of him. He's got Sentinel Strength, a phenomenal podcast. You think I get fired up? This guy gets fired up. He's a former Green Beret, Army, all that good stuff, log snapper, just did 1,000 hours of not community service, but basically internship.
It was community service, dude.
Community service. But he's someone who's, let's say he's seen how the sausage is made, how hot dogs are made, on the good and the bad. He's been in situations that would give us nightmares for life. And his voice even sounds like he just gargles with broken glass just for entertainment. And he's one of those guys that now he does strongman competitions where he literally lifts up like Toyota Camrys and throws them. He's the one that grabs those big like cement blocks that are 12,000 pounds and just throws them over his shoulder. He's not a normal human being. I've said it 100 times. So Nick, anyway, congratulations on coming on the show. We really appreciate it. You've been on, I think this is your third or fourth time. You're like my number one. Huh?
I think it's my third time here.
Yeah, third time. So that's fantastic. We got to get you a shirt. Always stopping by the Rubio method or something like that. So Nick, what is your definition of a man? Okay, let's just go there first. Let's break this down.
I mean, there's so many. It's one of those things, like when you talk about weightlifting, like it depends. Like, what are you talking about, right? I look at somebody like my dad. My parents are still married. They've been married for over 50 years.
Jesus.
They got 2 kids, me and my sister. And my dad just retired 2 years ago, I think. And my mom's been retired for a while. And he was that guy that took care of his family and always had a job and was always working and busted his ass to make sure we had a better life than what him and my mom had. And he was always there. We needed stuff. And I mean, there's a difference in that, right? And then I didn't follow that necessary path. I've been married a few times. I have a child that lives in Washington, and I went to the Army and I became a Green Beret, and then I still wanted to move around. So I was a long snapper, and then I finished my degree, and then I started competing in strongman, and then I took my human performance master's degree. And I've been married now to my wife for 9 years. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things, like, what my thing is, like, taking care of her, right? Taking care of your family. And the definition that they're bringing now is craziness to me. It's like they want everyone to be in charge of their own lives, and there's no family unity. It's like men need to be men, but they don't really want them to be masculine men. And they want women to be what that, people are always calling the boss bitch. And it just turned into this fucking nightmare of, well, what are we doing here, right? what role are we playing here? And I understand that society has played into that, because now it forced, like, when I was growing up as a kid, we could live, my dad made like $35,000-$40,000 a year in the 80s. And my mom didn't work when I was younger, up until probably both me and my sister were in school, and we could get away with that. You can't get away with that shit anymore.
No.
Right. And then you send your kids to public school, and let's talk about that fucking dumpster fire. Right?
Well, okay. As you're going to the public school and things like that, what I wanted to, you broke it down even more than I wanted, which is fantastic. But I was saying, like, what is a man, if you're going to say, like, let's talk to a 3rd grader. Okay. What's up, Joe? And, and I always bring up that, what's the movie, Jenna, Kindergarten Cop, when that one little squeaky kid comes up and he says, he just raises his hand. I think his dad was a gynecologist or something. And he goes, males have a penis, boys have a penis, girls have a vagina. And it's like, now that is a conversation, that can rub someone the wrong way right now. And is that
why? How did we end up here?
Well, and I understand that. That's my point of, okay, how do we end up here? And where did the image of a man become, like what you're saying, supportive, raise his family, living off $35,000, $40,000 a year. He wants everyone to be better than him, blah, blah, blah. Jenna says coddling and crybabies and giving in. Yeah, that's not a bad idea right there. Yeah, that's probably how it started. To, you went from like the 60s, 70s, where you had like the Marlboro man, but he's throwing down a lung dart or a heater, and he's riding a horse, and he's a cowboy in the Midwest. And you're like, that's a man. Okay. And I'm not saying you have to throw down some heaters to you become a man, but that's the image of a man. And in my opinion, politically, we've gotten so far away of what a man is on certain aspects that I think that the conservative aspect of just they've stood with, yeah, this is a dude, this is a chick, that it becomes almost hyperbolic when the other side tries to flip it and show you what's going on. It's almost, Umble, am I wrong, where they've become out of touch, so to speak, where they no longer know what a man is because they've been beating men down so much the past 10 years?
No, I mean, I don't disagree with you. The feminist movement killed any kind of masculinity. It was like, it swings, right? It's a power struggle. And in the 1900s to 1920s, they talked about women's suffrage, and that has just gone to the point where it's out of control now. It continued to rise and rise and rise. And then they put both parents to work. And then once both parents went to work, it became easier to take the nuclear family and start busting it apart. And once you bust that nuclear family apart, you can start having these ideology conversations about, well, is that a man, or what is this a man? But I'm here to tell you, I guarantee there isn't one fucking person in Western North Carolina right now picking up logs that's identifying as something other than a dude. to pull men and women
that-
out of.
And then we're gonna talk about that with Dave Bradley. Jenna just messaged me. Many men felt that their voices had been silenced by the feminist movement. That excessive interaction with women was causing them to lose their internal masculinity. Yeah, and it's no longer a cool thing. I mean, simple things like that when you just break it down to like elementary issues, like the Boy Scouts of America now accepts girls. Okay, but you have the Girl Scouts of America. Like it's okay to have two different groups. I don't understand why we have to be, I don't want to say unisex because that's not the word I'm looking for, but just where it's become so feminized. Nana Mona says your father and husband are your soft place to fall when you need help. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. But Nick, Kamala Harris in her campaign put out an ad for men for Kamala. Or Kamala, men, I think what it was called.
You're going to go down that route.
I watched it, and I swear to God, I thought it was a Saturday Night Live skit. And right when I saw it, I was like, okay, number one, this is a skit. Number two, oh my God, it's not a skit. Number three, I can't wait to talk to Nick Umble about this. Because this is like if I was writing a commercial about how to shampoo, condition, and comb long hair. I would have no idea what I'm talking about because I don't shampoo, condition, or comb long hair. I would be like, I think you go from the roots down. I don't know. So Jenna, let's start this commercial. We're going to stop it several times. We might need to bring Dave Bradley in on this one too because it's so, I don't know what's happening. This is a real commercial put out by the Kamala campaign. Go ahead, Jenna.
I'm a man,
And I'm man enough.
I'm man enough to enjoy a barrel-proof bourbon.
Neat.
Man enough to cook my steak rare.
Man enough to dip.
Jenna, okay. You got these dudes and they're saying, I'm a man enough to drink dry barrel whiskey. And then the other side is neat. Okay, neat, for those of the non-drinkers, just means no ice. Okay, but you have to, if you're listening on iTunes and Spotify, you can see they have told these dudes, okay, stand like this, sit like this in the back of the truck. There's not a lot of dudes that I've seen that sit like the Napoleon Dynamite pose when he's taking a photo like this. And like the one guy that just comes on and says, I'm a man. And I just don't know what's going on. Okay, keep going, Jenna.
Lift 500, then braid the out of my daughter's hair.
You think I'm afraid to rebuild a carburetor? I eat carburetors for breakfast.
Okay. Then you've got a clinically obese dude. I mean, which, okay, you've eaten too many burgers in your life. I get it. I've been there. But I'm not afraid to fix a carburetor. I eat carburetors for breakfast. Like, Umble, have you ever said that?
No.
I mean, and you're over 3 clicks. But,
oh, yeah.
But why would you eat a carburetor for breakfast? Is that a manly thing?
Dude,
Okay,
I don't know where these commercials, they even come up with this shit.
Well, okay.
I'm so sick of seeing any of these commercials. It's not even funny. Both sides. All of
them. Keep going, Jenna.
I ain't afraid of bears.
That's what bear hugs are for.
Okay, that one that dude that I'm afraid of bears, and he's sitting like the Napoleon Dynamite when he's getting the photo taken by whatever the girl's name is. It's just okay. Go ahead.
I'll tell you another thing. I sure as shit am not afraid of women.
I'm not afraid of women.
I'm not afraid of women.
They want to control their bodies? I say go for it.
They want to use IVF to start a family? I'm not afraid of families.
They want to be childless cat ladies?
Have all the cats you want.
Woman wants to be president?
Well, I hope she has the guts to look me right in the eye and accept my full-throated endorsement.
Because I'm man enough to support women.
Man enough to know what kind of donuts I like.
Man enough to admit I'm lost, even when I refuse to ask for directions.
Man enough to not ban young women from reading Little Women.
Or one of those pants.
Okay, so I'm glad we stopped on this guy because this is the pose that I'm talking about. Okay, I'm man enough to ask directions. Okay, you don't need to ask for directions anymore because you got Google and you got Maps. Number one, but number two, I've asked for directions 1,000 times. I don't give two craps if I don't know where I'm going. Number three, that one guy said I'm man enough to know what donut I like. What the hell does that mean? Umble, do you know what donuts you like?
He likes cops. I don't know.
I don't understand. And this one right now, I'm man enough to let women read books like Little Women. Okay. Is Little Women getting banned? Okay. I don't understand because everyone always talks about, they're banning books. They're banning books. If you really look into what books they're being banned, Okay, they're the sexually graphic books that they want to put in middle school to elementary school.
But they're not banning them. They're just saying they can't be in schools. You can go to your local library and read the shit out of it.
You're not banning them. You also can't have Mein Kampf in kindergarten either. It's one of those things that maybe these books are a little advanced. You're not going to have Stephen King's It in a 5th grade library. You're just not going to. Okay, Jenna, keep going.
Books that the sisters like.
I'm man enough to raw dog a flight. It sucked. Not worth it.
I'm man enough to be emotional in front of my wife.
In front of my kids.
In front of my horse.
I'm man enough to tell you that I cry at Love Actually.
Good Will Hunting.
West Side Story.
That and Predator.
Yeah, I'm man enough to tell you that I cry at Hallmark movies all the time. I'm assuming Umble just cries straight bullets or lead because he's such a man, but I admit it all the time. So I guess, okay, keep going, Jenna.
And I'm sick of so-called men domineering, belittling, and controlling women just so they can feel more powerful.
That's not how my mama raised me.
I love women.
I love women who support their families.
Women who decide not to have families.
Women who take charge.
And I'm man enough to help them win.
Newsflash, no one cares.
Okay, Jenna, come back to Umble and I. That's a real
shit. No one cares.
And that's, I was talking to my wife about it. Okay, that we watched it together. And I was like, what's happening here? Like, this is a real thing? Like, she even thought, like, that's not a real curl. I go, no, it's real. And I just, Umble, what are we doing here?
It's like this IVF thing, right? So I did a bunch of research when the whole IVF thing came up. Like, oh my God, IVF, the fucking Republicans don't want kids to have families. Okay, this is the problem that the right and the left does it too, but the left does it a hell of a lot more than the right does it. But so when that bill got shot down, and they coin it as, oh, this is the IVF bill, just like when the southern border bill got canked, right? What's the first thing they did? Donald Trump shut it down. Okay, well, first off, Donald Trump's not in office.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that 435 representatives in the House of Representatives and Congress decided that they're all going to listen to Donald Trump and do what he says. Okay, shut the fuck up. That's not true. But the whole point of that is they were like, oh, it was going to secure the border. Okay, well, yes, you give more. They were going to put in more, hire more judges, 1,500 more border agents. But here's what they don't fucking tell you: $60 billion to Ukraine.
Yeah,
another $30 billion to Israel. Another X, Y, and Z over here, and more money to that. So that they leave out the pieces of it. So now this IVF thing is like, oh my God, no one wants you to do IVF. Oh, the Republicans are against it. We're not against IVF, dumbass. What we're against is you giving more fucking money away when we have people in this country screaming in Western North Carolina.
Yeah, let me clarify a little bit, because I know this can get confusing for a lot of people that aren't in the political know. When they make a bill, okay, so say they're having this border bill that Kamala always talks about, that, you know, oh my God, Trump didn't pass it. He told everyone not to pass it. He's not even in office, but somehow he's got all this power. So they call it the border bill. Okay, it would be like, I'm going to give you a Rolls Royce for $1,000. It's a brand new Rolls Royce for $1,000. Okay, do you want the Rolls Royce? Obviously, you're going to say yes. I'm going to say that's fantastic. But in the Rolls Royce, there's 10,000 cockroaches that are going to recreate every single night. So every time you drive it, they're going to have cockroaches in it every time. And it's going to smell like dog crap every single time you drive it. Do you still want Rolls Royce? Yes or no? You're going to be like, no. And then I'm going to say, Nick Umble does not even want a Rolls Royce. He is so pathetic. I can't believe he does not want a Rolls Royce. Who doesn't want a Rolls Royce? When I'm leaving out the fact of it comes with 10,000 roaches nightly and it smells like dog crap. That's what happens with so many of these bills. If the bill was literally a paragraph long and said, this bill's just for the border, $12 billion, build a wall, or, you know, this bill is just for IVF, that's it. Everything would be fine.
And the same thing goes on with the Supreme Court, right? Like when when they overturned the bump stock ban, everybody, oh, the Supreme Court they don't care about children and they care about murderers and they're going to use bump stocks. Okay, first off, if you own a bump stock, you're a dumbass. Second, it wasn't about the bump stock. The Supreme Court was making a point that an unelected bureaucrat at the ATF does not have the ability to pass a fucking law. That was the end of the story. It didn't need to go any farther than that. But of course, they run and scream, and politicians are great at it on both sides.
Oh,
They don't care about kids. Oh, bump stocks, they're so bad. Well, stop. It was all about the ATF banned bump stocks, and they said, the Supreme Court said that's unconstitutional because you're an unelected bureaucrat. If you want to ban something, you have to go to Congress. It's called the Constitution. That pesky fucking document pisses a lot of people off.
Okay. All right. So you were as confused as I was about that video.
I wasn't confused. It was all bullshit.
Okay, but you like to me, like I said, you're a manly man in my eyes. Was that Donamona says, okay, guys, it all started with Donamona. Yeah, very, very, very true, Donamona. But it's one of those things of you can tell, like, if you and I were creating a commercial and we've got no entertainment experience for making commercials, would it look anything like that? Of this is a dude.
Rubio, the two of us could be the president and vice president of the United States. And it doesn't matter which office we fucking hold, and we would do a better job than the last 4 years. Those are facts. They did absolutely nothing for the last almost 4 years. Nothing. And what they did do was fuck everything up. It's not, they're so, in my opinion, politicians are so lost at reality because they don't fucking live in reality and they have been bought off, or they have some weird sex life in DC that has been compromised.
I think the whole reality thing, I think you're hitting it on the head where you've got so many people that are career politicians that they've been coddled for so long that they don't know how to interact with human beings because they are basically just NPCs. They're the people on video games where they're just the non-player, whatever it's called, character, where they're just kind of in the background. They work at the 7-Eleven and say hi as you enter the door, and then you never see that player again. What was that movie with Ryan Reynolds, Free Guy? It's one of those things where it's just, it's this, they don't know how to act when they get confronted with a non-political question like, hey, do you like hot dogs? I love hot dogs. Oscar Mayer is the famous hot dogs I've ever want. Blah, blah, blah. Hot dogs are great. And then if you veer off the question of, well, have you ever had a hot dog with a pretzel bun? I love hot dogs. Oscar Mayer is the best. That's not what I ask. Have you ever had one with a pretzel bun? I love hot dogs. I like Oscar Mayer. It's like, holy hell, you literally don't know how to speak. And you know what, Jenna? Let's do this. Let's bring up. We're going to move right on to Accept and Embrace. Bring on Dave Bradley because we're talking about people that are out of touch with reality, and this is going to go right into Tim Wall's video, which I thought this was fake as well. So we're going to welcome on Dave Bradley. Jenna, yeah, perfect. Dave Bradley, what's going on?
Hey, this is interesting.
Always is. So Dave Bradley is the wisdom rabbit. He just walks around. If you've ever seen a rabbit, they just walk around and crap everywhere. And I always say that Dave Bradley craps wisdom wherever he goes. So it's hard to talk to him and not use. You're exhausted with the amount of knowledge you obtain from this guy just because he's lived so many lives and he's a professional soccer player at age 17, Dave? 16. Oh, my bad. And so I don't know if you know Nick Umble, Dave Bradley, Nick Umble. So we're going to talk. We've been talking about what is a man. I don't know if you saw the Kamala commercial. We're going to move on to Accept and Embrace. And you had a post, and I talked to you but 3 weeks ago, Dave, that I was going to bring you on. And then I saw your post, I think it was on Monday or Tuesday, where you had a pretty lengthy post about toxic masculinity. And I was like, oh, Dave Bradley. And you took a little bit of heat from it too, where I was like, oh, I wonder if everyone's going to be nice. So Dave, give me the cliff notes, the 25-second version of your post. What brought it about?
I got to know a guy on LinkedIn, and he's an ex-professional soccer player in the UK. And then he went into bad times, lost everything, lost himself. And he understood the difference between the light and the dark. In fact, a smart person just made a comment right now while I was listening to you guys talk, and she went, oh, guys, it's all back to Adam and Eve because they screwed up, and we're now paying the price. It was all going to be perfect before then. But I followed this guy, and he also makes reference to Jordan Peterson, and people like that. And you sent me that clip, Rubio. And the reason why I liked following him was, and I reposted his post, not because I don't understand what he was talking about, because I agree with what he was talking about. And Nick alluded to it as well, I believe just now, is we got to the point where all of a sudden, about 15, 20 years ago, you started hearing these terms like boss babe, being a boss babe, which, you know, and whether people were coming out with it in real words or not, it's like, you know, you don't need a man. I don't need a man. I can do this, you know, I can be independent. And look, I'm married 25 years. I got 2 girls. I had a great relationship with my mother in England before she died 5-6 years ago. So I'm very comfortable around females, but what I'm not comfortable around is females are trying to make the men look bad so they can make themselves look better. This is real simple stuff, simple terms. Yeah, go.
Yeah, no, I think that's where you hit it, is what, you know, it's okay to lift up women and lift up men without pushing down the other. Why can't both stand on the podium of greatness? I just don't understand. And the truly great relationships, we can all talk about this, is where the husband and wife are working together. Okay. It's one of those things that when they're working together, that's when you have a good relationship. If one is overpowering, we've all seen marriages like this, where you can see it where, okay, one is trying to go up while the other one's trying to push that person down. That usually ends up wrong. It's a power struggle, and the person on the bottom becomes resentful of it and eventually just fights through. And then that you have issues. Nick, you picking up what I'm dropping?
Yeah, man. So Jordan Peterson makes this reference a lot. The only time that feminists complain about having equality in a fucking C-suite job. Now, name me, is there a bricklayer? Why don't we argue about bricklayers, plumbers, carpenters, manual farmers, manual labor? Shit, man, we don't want anything to do with that. Like, let's take away everything that a man has built in this country and say, okay, we're going to take it all away, and you're left with what women produced and what you will produce from here on out. We'll be fucked, like plain and simple. And that's not hyperbole. That's not me being an asshole. That's just facts. Because
some are going to think you're an asshole, but I mean, it is what it is.
Women
but it's
don't want to be in the trade.
You're not necessarily wrong. It's to the point where I think at some point you have to look at certain things with common sense. Because I was literally just reading an article today in my local paper where they were showing how since 2020, the wage gap has gone for men over women. And then I was reading. They never said per the same jobs. Like they just said, oh, men have more jobs. Okay. And then they were showing how a lot of the female immigrant women were losing their jobs, but it never said, okay, that's because maybe the immigrant men were taking those jobs. And these were the jobs that no one wanted. They never said, okay, a male doctor and a female doctor, all of a sudden the male doctor's making more. No, they're just saying how, okay, you've got this person's willing to do this, porta potty job where they're pumping out porta potties out there at Chili Festival. And the women don't want that job. Okay, I don't want that job.
If the wage gap was real, every CEO, Mark Cuban, Donald Trump, Bill Gates, Tim Cook would all hire women and save themselves 25% on labor, period. It's not real. It's bullshit. It's made up. The whole thing's a fucking lie.
When I was reading that article, I was just waiting for, okay, show me the job, show me the job, show me the job, show me the jobs. Jenna disagrees. I don't know if she's disagreeing with me or you or all of us, but she's very violent when she disagrees because it's all caps. Go ahead, Dave Bradley. Oh, she disagrees with Umble. Okay. Jenna, you on? Go ahead, Dave.
Okay, this is not a male versus a female argument. At the end of the day, you were either, and there's been a lot of talk about this in different contexts, and we know what that is. You're either a male or a female, that's it. There's no I'm not too sure. There's no doubt about it. At the end of the day, your blood will tell you you're a male or you're a female.
Okay, so what is this toxic masculinity that you speak of?
Toxic masculinity is lessening men to make women look better or feel stronger. When I'm ever driving around on a very cold day, and I live in Ohio, and we have a lot of those throughout the year in winter, we're about to go in there now. When you see, even in the summertime, when you see people who are working on the roads and, you know, they're digging up this and doing that, and they've got heavy stuff going on, and they're building motorways and overpasses and everything that's going on, you don't see women doing that. Although recently, I started to see women that are working with those men outside on the roads, but it seems to me that they're only standing there with a stop and a go sign.
Okay.
Because physically, there are just some things that they can't do. I give an example. And I don't mind telling you that it makes me feel good, but every time my wife goes to the kitchen and she tries to open something like the jelly lid, and she can't, she goes, Dave, I can't get this off. And I go in and go, yeah. It is. They may want to feel like they want to be a man, but physically they can't be, because that's not how God made them to be.
Okay, so let's go back to the realistic image that we talked about with Dave Brad, or not with Nick Umble, about how so many of these politicians have been out of the limelight or in the limelight for so long and out of reality for so long that, like, just that commercial we showed, they can't even associate with, okay, I need to figure out what a man looks like. Let me make a commercial. Yes, this is what dudes talk like. Obviously, that was a swing and a major miss on that commercial. So let's do this. Tim Walz, the VP candidate, who's a Minnesota governor, he's taken some flack, let's just say, for his, abundance of fabrications of stories, where he was in Tiananmen Square, he was the head football coach, he went to combat. I mean, he's a perpetual liar. Like, it's past that point. Nana Monas has mentioned
combat.
Mothers at home to raise your children. Children need this. That's not a bad point right there by Nana Mona. So Tim Walz makes this video where they're 25 days out. You're campaigning nonstop. On Saturday or Sunday, he decides, I'm going to go pheasant hunting, and I'm going to bring a camera crew. Now, obviously, you've got 25 days left. You're not going to take a day off to go pheasant hunting unless there's a ploy. I mean, this is one of the dumbest things in the world. They're not taking days off to go to Chuck E. Cheese or go pheasant hunting or go to a dart league or go bowling or do whatever you're going to do. This is obviously just a ploy to make him, quote, look more like a man. Okay? So, Jenna, can you play this Tim Walz video? This is put out on his X account.
Nice shot. Oh, you got that. That was a good shot. And we'll get another one. They are shaking like crazy, Scott. He's on to something. Rooster! Nope, don't shoot. They came up behind you. That happens. A couple years ago, I got a double when we first started. Went right up my leg, like it was hitting my leg as it went up. No, pin in. Pin. That's why it's hunting, not shooting, right? You knew it, didn't you, man? And I'm gonna grab a Diet Mountain Dew if we got one.
Yeah. Okay, this part where, number one, found out later that first time when someone shot, that was an edited shot sound. Like, no one shot there. So they edited that part in later of, hey, that was a nice shot, man. This part alone gets me. It was like, hey, does anyone have a Diet Mountain Dew? I'm going to chug a Diet Mountain Dew. Like, don't get me wrong. I appreciate a good Diet Mountain Dew. It's very refreshing. But I'm not going to flat out say, if I'm hunting with Umble and Dave Bradley, hey, guys, does anyone have a Diet Mountain Dew? I'd like to chug a Diet Mountain Dew. Like, dudes don't talk like that. I don't understand who. So it's not only is this bad, but there's no one in the party that looks and goes, yeah, this is stupid. Go ahead, Jenna.
That is, right?
Go ahead.
That's dude, it's the king. The king is with the commoners, hunting with the commoners.
Well, exactly. Yes, I get it. Jenna, go ahead and keep playing it. It's not much longer.
And it got up off my shoulder. Went, I was like, oh, you poor little thing.
You said, no. That's what you said. That's a baby.
Right. She's like, yeah, but can you shoot?
Yeah, that's right. You better shoot if we get one up, you guys.
It was fun, then you got to get out.
It was fun. That's what I said. There's good days and there's great days pheasant hunting.
Yes.
And for those that didn't see, there was a whole outtake where he spent, I think it was like 5 minutes trying to load his shotgun. And he even turned away from the camera because he didn't know what he was doing. And it's like I said to Umble earlier, put something in this guy's wheelhouse, that something that he could really lean into and show, quote unquote, that he's a man. Like I said, if it was like, okay, Rubio needs to show how to comb long hair and French braid, I'm not doing it. I don't have daughters, nor do I have hair. Okay. My wife has never taught me how to French braid hair. I don't care. It's not something that I need to learn how to do. Dave Bradley's had daughters. Umble, you've had daughters. You guys might know how to do it, but it's one of those things that don't put me into that because I don't know what I'm doing. And for their handlers to say, okay, this Saturday, we're 24 days away. We need to make you look more like a man. Let's go pheasant hunting, even though you don't know what you're doing at all. Like, Dave Bradley, you're shaking your head. This is just dumb, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just not authentic. And it's so easy to see right through it with both him and Kamala Harris. And I'm not even American. I mean, I've lived here for 18 years. I'm not going anywhere else now. This is it. I'm here. So for all intent and purposes, unofficially, yeah, I'm American. My wife, my kids are American. And when I hear this kind of nonsense, it's like, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for us because other people around the world are looking to America as being the world power, and it's just not there. It is not happening.
Dude, it makes me so mad, especially where I've been in the world. I'm just you're a fucking clown show right now.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's just so, Dave Bradley, you hit it on the head. It's just so inauthentic. It just so, like anyone that's just, if you got any testosterone running through your bones, or body, you're just looking and going,
that's not a man. That's because he's not a man. That's because he's not a real man. He's not authentic, and he's the one. He's toxic masculinity to himself, and he's playing it out to a T.
Yeah, so he's basically putting himself down at this point because it's one of those things where you can just go, come on, man. Like, this is just so, it'd be like me trying to pretend I'm a world-class sprinter. I'm not. Or if Nick Umble is svelte, he's not. Okay? He's not 5'2", 110 pounds. It's just not going to happen. Okay? Yeah, some guys don't like hunting. That doesn't make him less of a man. We're not saying that, Nanamona. I'm just saying let's put him something that's in his wheelhouse, something that can show off, quote unquote, that he's a man. But like Umble said, he's been so out of that man card reality, I don't know what's left.
Well, they put him hunting because the guy's from Minnesota.
Yeah.
I grew up in Iowa. I now live in West Virginia. Right. That's what you do if you're a country boy, most from Minnesota and Iowa. You go pheasant hunting. My buddies did it. I got guys I went to high school with 30 years ago that still pheasant hunt. Right. He is the governor of Minnesota. He's a Midwestern guy. So what do Midwestern guys do in the fall? They go pheasant hunting. So that's what they tried to prove. Here, what is a masculine thing men do in the fall? They go pheasant hunting. He's from the Midwest. He must pheasant hunt. Let's put the king out with the pheasant hunters and he'll show them the way and he'll get reelected. That's what it is.
Well, yeah, and let's open up the LL Bean catalog, get him all new, brand new gear, and give him a gun that he's never used before, even though he says he has, and trying to get him loaded. Dave Bradley, you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I live in the Midwest, but I'm originally from Manchester, England, so I'm a city boy. I don't like, when I first met my wife in New Zealand, by the way, I was living in New Zealand, and we met in New Zealand, and my wife said to me, so, do you like camping? And I went, nope. And she's go, okay, good. Me neither. And she quickly worked out, I don't hunt. I don't go camping. I don't like getting my hands dirty. I don't like any of that. I'm a city boy. I'm from Manchester. I was a soccer player. I read a book in New Zealand a few years ago that was already an old book, but sometimes good things stand the test of time. Someone recommended to me to read a book called Man of Steel and Velvet. And I read the book. And as a man, as a normal male, I had the steel. I knew that. Professional soccer player, kicking people, suck it up, you get hurt, don't complain, carry on, don't show them you hurt, da 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 da. So I had the steel, but I didn't have the velvet. So I had to learn how to tap into my emotional side or my feminine side, as the book called it. And that sounded a little bit strange to me, but it's true, because today, 1 minute I can be aggressive, but I learned how to not be too aggressive in front of my 2 young girls at the time, because it's scary for them. My wife would come to me and say, the girls come to me and said, you shouted at them. And I'm going, I didn't shout at them. I didn't feel like I shouted, but they felt like I shouted, because a 6-foot guy who's 240 pounds, who's an ex-professional athlete, who's just come back from being from a run and who's tired and sweating in the snow and the wind and the rain, and you're exhausted, and the kids are pushing the buttons, it can sound like you're shouting. So at that point, I had to tap into what I read in that book about the emotional side of the man. I had the steel, but I had to learn how to have the velvet. So now I switch between the two, depending upon where I am and who I'm with.
Well, and that's the thing. You can switch between the two, and just because you go velvet at one point doesn't mean you have to dump the steel. And I think that's a fine line. Okay, I like you both, and I'm going to keep you on for one more segment just to piss you off both, because we're going to go to working hard is not enough, and if I have to hear it, you have to hear it. Umble, especially you. Last night, Kamala Harris did an interview on Fox with Bret Baier. She went 60 days without speaking to the press at all, nothing one bit. And then finally, after her campaign of joy started to diminish a little bit, they're like, okay, your numbers are going down. We can't hide you anymore. You're going to have to start speaking. So she did on I'm Your Daddy or I'm Your Mommy podcast, or I'm Daddy, She's Your Daddy podcast. She's gone on Howard Stern, who talked to her about Dorito chips. She's on Colbert and all those where they had a beer and it's really just bad. And she's got all of these powder puff, T-ball interviews where they're just lobbing them up for her. And her numbers continue to go down just because, like I've said, and I feel bad for her that she's just not here. She's not a human being that can go out publicly speak. She can't do a live debate without pure canned answers. Anyone that just hits at her again, like says, okay, the border issue, and she'll just come up with some answer, which she's very good at memorizing canned answers. But then like you go at her again and say, but you didn't answer the question. And you press on. So Bret Baier, he's the first one at a Fox. She agreed to do this interview, which I'm shocked. That just shows me how low her numbers really are. And she said she was going to be on at 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. Eastern, because he's got a show at 6, and they wanted to edit it just a tad. She came at 5:17. Okay, and they still needed it done by 5:40 to edit some of it. She was only on for about 22, 23 minutes. And at the very end, Bret was still trying to get some questions in. And her handlers are literally to the side. And he's like, okay. I got to end the interview. I have to end the interview. Your people are telling me. There was like 4 or 5 people, basically like Rocky 3 or 4 throwing in the towel for Apollo Creed. Like, okay, we got to get out of here. We got to get out of here. So let's play with. This is just a couple clips of it. I watched it. I don't know if you did, Dave. I know Umble did not, but I want him to suffer like I did. So go ahead, Jenna.
And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but just a number. Do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Bret, let's just get to the point.
6 Democrats voted. So are you still in support of using taxpayer dollars to help prison inmates or detained illegal aliens to transition to another gender?
I will follow the law. And it's a law that Donald Trump actually followed. Donald Trump's administration, Trump campaign. Well, you know what? You got to take responsibility for.
Jenna, I wanted to stop real quick because you're hearing her say Trump. Someone added it up. I think she said Trump 56 times in 22 minutes. 56 times. So go ahead, Jenna.
What happened in your administration? I think Donald Trump turning the page from the last decade in which we have been burdened with the kind of rhetoric coming from Donald Trump.
You've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office. The former.
That was the line that got everyone working. She said, okay, what are you going to do different? You've been in office for 3.5 years. And she says, hell, Trumpo's been running for office for 10. Oh, okay. What does that have to do with literally anything, honey? Like that makes zero sense. Yeah, Jenna says, drives her crazy. It's not about him. Yeah, what does him running for office for 10 years have to do with you being in office? Go ahead, Jenna.
Chief of staff to the president, Donald Trump. And in fact, if you listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean.
He is unstable.
He is unstable. He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that concerns raised.
Brett, Joe Biden is not on the ballot.
I understand.
And Donald Trump
But
is,
you talked about it in a few minutes of talking to President Biden at a fund on the debate stage.
Donald Trump is on the ballot.
I understand. You met with him at least once a week for 3.5 years. You didn't have any concerns?
I think the American people have a concern about Donald Trump.
Critics just say that you either relaxed or failed to enforce sanctions on Iran, allowing all of this money to
kill it. I can't do it anymore. I just love the fact of how she. Okay, the question was, Brett said, so Joey B, he was. You guys all said he was doing unicycle in the dark, juggling knives. He's fantastic while he's outsmarting Stephen Hawking in chess. And then all of a sudden, one debate, and now he's a demented moron. Where did it go wrong? How come you didn't notice this, or how come you didn't say anything? Well, he's not on the ballot. That's kind of the point, though. That's the point. Like, how did he went from the slippery slope of now he's on wet marble with Crisco on his feet? I don't understand. But what am I missing here?
Dude, she's retarded. Think about this. In 2016, she ran for president. And she literally got, like, her career got ended in 2.5 minutes of Tulsi Gabbard berating her.
Nasty just said that was painful. I'm sorry, Nasty.
Then that ended her political career. It was over. It was done. Nobody was ever going to hear from Kamala Harris ever again. And then Joe Biden hid out in his basement for a year, and they were like, we got to add somebody to the ticket. And people don't want to listen to the DEI bullshit, but that's exactly what it was.
100%.
We have to put somebody on the ballot that's not a 70-year-old white dude. And what did they find? They found her. And why did they find her? I'm convinced they found her because she's dumber than Biden. And then when they figured out Biden got his ass handed to him in a debate and made himself look like a fool, which they never should have agreed to. The Democratic Party did this to themselves.
I think they did it on purpose.
Then they decide, well, we're going to add Kamala to the ticket. And this is another deal. Like, they did it to Bernie in 16.
Mm-hmm.
In 20, they did it to, somebody in, who was it?
South Carolina governor.
Yep. And then now they're doing it. They just did it to Biden. The Democrats have not picked a candidate for president in 12 years. It's been who the powers that the king says, this is who the commoner will be. That's who you will vote for. And that's what happens. And that's what we've turned into. They've completely annihilated. It's not unconstitutional because the primaries are not in the Constitution. I read the Constitution weekly.
Of course you do.
I have an app. There's an app for it. There's literally an app called the U.S. Constitution.
Dave Bradley, as quote unquote a foreigner, what do you think?
As quote unquote what? Sorry?
A foreigner.
Yeah, it's interesting because I do feel like an American because I'm surrounded by Americans. Yeah, I've got the green card. I'm here. That's it. You just can't reason with Dom. I mean, she's out of a guest. It's as simple as that. We're trying to make Longji like what we do, like what she did, what she wasn't. She didn't know what she was doing. She's being told what to do by somebody that maybe she doesn't even know. Somebody somewhere in the background, some company. I don't want to mention any names because I don't know if I'm allowed to. But
BlackRock.
There you go. Okay, that's it. Took the words out of my mouth. Right. So that's it. I mean, so when you see someone playing with the puppet things like this, that's what's going on. We just can't see the wires.
I'm going to end you two on that. Dave and Umble, you guys did a phenomenal job. I'm going to definitely have you both on if you guys are willing to come back on. At some point, we'll have a good time. I'm going to move right into confidence is the key. Umble and Dave Bradley, shout out to both of you. You could find both of them on LinkedIn and Facebook and all that. Well, Umble's not on Facebook. See you guys. Okay, let's go to confidence is the key. This is going to be a long segment. Confidence is the key. Major League Baseball. I'm not a big baseball guy, but it's the playoffs, and all of a sudden when the playoffs get here, I'm kind of there. Okay, so let's talk about Major League Baseball with Tim Carney of Sports with Talk with Dad. Tim, are you there? Jenna, can you bring out Tim?
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing great.
Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit about baseball and the payroll. Number one, I think I've spoken to you guys about this before. To me, baseball is a little boring. I think it should be 7 innings. I think it should be wiffle ball rules where you should be allowed to peg someone. I think it's too long. I once saw the Savannah Bananas out in Salt Lake City. Absolutely phenomenal. If you don't know about them, you have to know about them. They're unbelievable. Well worth the cost of admission. Am I the wrong person here? Am I looking at it wrong? Is it too boring for the average person?
Baseball is the greatest game ever invented.
Well, and that's what I was going to say, because people that love baseball, the purists, they'll die on that hill. Okay, now I want you to explain to me in a minute or less why baseball is the best.
It's the only game where the guy without the ball really controls how you score. Pitcher's got the ball. Normally, he's throwing it. The quarterback throws to his own guys. Your opponent is actually throwing the ball. You've got to move the guys around. I was a catcher. So for me, it was a giant chess match. Mm-hmm. And I love watching a good pitcher's duel. But it is a game that the masses fell in love with because there isn't a timetable on it. There's a lot of different aspects of it. The pitcher is really the star of the game because you have a Greg Maddux, a Nolan Ryan, a Randy, any of those guys, they're in control. And to watch that match between the pitcher and the hitter is one of the most fascinating and fun things to do anywhere, anytime. Yeah. I don't ever want to see a 7-inning game, by the way.
I love those. I keep seeing them on like these reels or TikTok where they show like clips, like a 2-minute clip of Greg Maddux showing what pitches he was throwing at a certain time, like in 1987. And I saw one where he did it, where he was going against some monster hitter. I think it was Barry Bonds. And he was showing it like it was, let's say the 80th game of the season. And he threw one inside 2 in a row because he knew he would get a hit off him. And he goes, I was setting him up for playoffs. And I was like, holy hell, you want to talk about 4D chess? That's insane.
Well, and Greg Maddux proves my point. They've ruined baseball by trying to get throwers instead of pitchers. You don't have to throw 95 miles an hour. You can throw in the 80s and dominate. And Maddux is proof of that. He is in the top 5 greatest pitchers of all time.
Has to be.
Has to be.
So, okay. I was just reading on something about that, how there's like barely any complete games anymore because every pitcher has an account where, like when Tommy Lasorda, RIP, the Dodger manager, when he was pitching, I think he had a couple games where he almost had 200 pitches.
Sure. Well, and don't get me started. The Craig Counsels of the world have ruined baseball by pulling out. Craig Counsell actually pulled a guy out in the 8th inning when the guy was pitching a no-hitter. He did give him the opportunity to achieve something that is history, and it cost him a lot of money actually later on, because if you get a no-hitter, price of poker goes up. So they've completely ruined it. The commissioner is trying to address it by saying, okay, pitchers have to go through 6 innings. Take the governors off. These guys are in the best shape of their lives. They can go 125, 130 pitches without destroying their arms. Warren Spahn used to do it. And Spahn always used to say the biggest difference was when he was a kid, they'd get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, they'd be out by 8, they'd play playing baseball all day long, throwing back and forth. And that's the way I played. Mm-hmm. And I never had shoulder problems, I never had knee problems, but they learned to pitch, and they learned to, instead of just throwing as hard as they can, which is going to damage your arm.
Yeah.
So I hate the fact that they pull people out in the 4th, 5th inning once they get to 100 pitches. Screw that. Let them go.
Okay. The final thing I wanted to talk to you about right now, we have the Yankees versus basically the Cleveland Indians or Guardians or whatever their name is now. The Yankees versus Indians, Dodgers versus Mets. Their payrolls. This is what I want to talk to you about. The Yankees payroll's $309 million. Mets is $317 million. Dodgers is only $241 million. I was actually surprised about that. And the Indians, or Guardians, whatever they're called, is $106 million. And then how is a team like, say, the Seattle Mariners, who's 5 hours east of me, or west of me, at $89 million payroll? How are they supposed to compete against this?
Well, baseball has always been stacked that way. The Yankees have always had the most money, and they've always kind of bought their players and bought their team. However, now that Bally Sports has kind of collapsed, and MLB is actually running the local TVs for the Brewers and the Twins and a few other teams, it's an opportunity to bring some of these local broadcasts into the MLB so that they share revenue like the NFL does, local and national, amongst all the teams. Then you can put in a salary cap. Then you can start to control. The Yankees aren't going to be able to spend $340 million and the Twins spend 89 or Seattle spends 89. It'll even it out. And it's going to happen because otherwise it's getting to be way skewed in the wrong direction. Yes, there are the Kansas Cities of the world who get to the playoffs, but we're seeing the highest paid payrolls in the finals of the
playoffs. Okay. So, in my opinion, and maybe because I'm just salty after just watching what's going on with the NCAA and football, they've got to fix this sooner than later before it's the wild, wild west like in college football right now.
They have to. I mean, the NIL, don't get me started. It could kill college football. But MLB, I'm hoping they're going to do this. It was something Bob Costa said years ago, was that when you come into any given city, the home team gets 60% of the media revenue. The away team gets 40%. And that just goes across because, again, it will even out the revenue between the rich teams, the big teams, and the minor or the smaller market teams. Kyle and I came up with a plan. It's called the Cardi plan, where we actually address this by putting the Yankees and Boston and the Mets, instead of having 5 3-team divisions, instead of having 3 5-team divisions, you have 5 3-team divisions where you put the Yankees, the Mets, and Boston in one division. Spend what you want. Only one of you is going to get to the playoffs. And you put teams like Milwaukee and Minnesota and Toronto in another division. It's evenly matched. And with only 3 teams, and baseball, it's always been you've got to win to get in. I don't like the wild card. Screw that. That's for football. That's for other sports. If you have 5 3-team divisions and you get them, you have to win your division to get in. Baseball all of a sudden has a lot of national interest again.
I like that a lot. Tim, where can people find you guys?
Sports Talk with Dad is on YouTube. We just dropped a new episode today. Speaking of the Indians, we talked at length about the Redskins and the Indians this week and how those names actually should come back. Indians, by the way, means God, children of God. It comes from Indios. It has nothing to do with India. When a priest was there and said, these are the people of God. And that Indios turned into Indians. It's not disrespectful at all. Redskins, people called themselves the Redskins because they used to put clay all over their skin to keep the mosquitoes off. That was their name for themselves. It wasn't until Western movies came along where it kind of got to be derogatory. But if you want to do that, bring back that logo. It was designed by a Blackfoot chief, Indian chief. Put that back on the helmets and then change the name to the Washington Blackfeet. Honor that tribe.
I'm in. 100% in. Tim, I appreciate your time.
No problem. Thanks, Chris.
Take care. All right, Jenna, let's go to the bottom line. The bottom line for all you new watchers and listeners out there is just all the stuff you should have learned without even realizing you learned it while you're watching on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, LinkedIn, X, and all that good stuff. The bottom line, number 1, always look at things from both sides. Always look at things from both sides. This was the real easy one where I put the El Trumpo was a racist, and then all I did was flip it from red to blue, and that's exactly what Kamala said. So always look at things from both sides. Number 2, it is okay for men to be men and for women to be women. That's great. I don't understand why that's even a controversial statement. It's okay. Dudes could be dudes, chicks could be chicks. It's okay. And number 3, always come prepared for a big meeting. This goes back to Kamala's interview. Like you had to know what they're going to ask you. Have some of those answers in there. You have to know they're going to ask you about Joey B having dementia and all that stuff. The fact that her handlers did not give her answers for a big, big meeting, really, really bad. All right. This was episode 79. This was a good one. This was our longest one, Jenna. Jenna did a fantastic job. She only yelled at us, I think, 2 or 3 times on that side. So that was great. Thank you for everyone that chimed in. Nana Mona, Sheldon, all those good guys out there. Really appreciate it. Guy out there in Canada. If you have any questions or want us to come on a topic or something like that, you can just email us rubio@therubiomethod.com. Jenna, I'm out.
Thanks for watching The Rubio Method. Be sure to spread the word. And don't forget to subscribe, like, or follow on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google, Amazon, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Thanks for watching The Rubio Method. Be sure to spread the word. And don't forget to subscribe, like, or follow on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google, Amazon, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook.